Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and certainly having a great start to your Saturday and a great start to your weekend. I got you an update on what's going to likely be a very active weather day today, especially for you folks in the Northeast, but there's also other areas we need to watch for a chance for strong to severe storms too. So this is going to be a longer video. We're going to get as detailed as possible, but I mean, really from Ohio all the way up into like Vermont to New Hampshire, even portions of Western Mass. I mean, Connecticut, definitely including the state of New York, Pennsylvania. It's going to be very active today. We have an enhanced risk, which is a level of 3 out of 5. Damaging winds is going to be the biggest threat, but there's also a pretty decent tornado threat with a day's risk also. So I want to remind y'all, I'm making this video as of 7:30ish a.m. Eastern time. Another update comes out in about another hour and a half. So some information, this might change, but I always try to put the latest link showing the latest information as it does come out, just to kind of keep you guys up to date. So with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and stay tuned for tonight. I'm going to have a video just talking about what's coming up next. I'm watching a cold front next week that could bring some people who've really been just roasting alive some relief. And we'll talk a little bit on the tropics, what we're seeing, and we'll just talk about what's to come, the severe weather threat throughout the rest of the weekend into early next week. So stay tuned. I will have a video for tonight. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. So let's get rolling. We take a look at water vapor loop. You see this little spin up here in the northern portion of the country in the Great Lakes region. That is our shortwave trough with an associated a surface low, and this will help bring all the right conditions into the Northeast for severe weather today. This area in the white that you're seeing, that is where there's already a bunch of shower and storm activity ongoing. I don't have my clicker up this morning. I do apologize for that. But this little broad spin up here, that, like I said, that is our main driver today for all the severe weather in areas of Ohio and to the Northeast for today. And just down here in the south, we have a very hot, uncomfortable, super moist atmosphere that's just going to be the driver for the chance for strong to severe storms. There's definitely a slight risk, level 2 out of 5 for areas of Tennessee and Alabama and surrounding areas. So we'll watch that. And, that's pretty much the driver of today's forecast. We definitely just have a belt of favorable kinematics that's definitely going to move into areas of the Northeast today that's really going to provide that lift, that shear, and just favorable conditions for severe weather. We take a look at what's going on radar right now. We have a lot of heavy rain activity. We even got flash flood warnings that have been issued in central Missouri. We have picked up a lot of rain in certain areas of Missouri. I don't want to speak for everybody, but especially, with that rain event y'all guys got, 2 weeks ago. So this is another area of rain moving in, showers and storms moving through southern sections of Illinois, even some areas of Indiana. They're experiencing some storm action, a little bit of rain falling in northern Arkansas for you folks. And eastern areas of Oklahoma, you're seeing some showers and nothing really strong and severe right now, but we'll watch to see how this energy behaves as it moves upstream. And then everywhere else, we're already waking up just a little bit of shower and downpour activity up here in the Northeast. I think, southern Ontario could get a lot of severe weather today. We know normally we'll talk about the U.S., but I do want to mention that typically when areas of the Northeast get a chance of severe weather, areas of like Ontario, southern Ontario definitely have a chance also. The Storm Prediction Center, there's multiple areas to watch. Obviously, the largest area and the most significant risk region is this enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5, which basically stretches from a very small portion of eastern, northeastern Ohio through the entire northern half of Pennsylvania, all the way into the southern tier of New York State. Slight risk basically from back here in northern Kentucky all the way to western Mass, areas of the very southern regions of Vermont, and all the way up into areas of the Adirondacks. So level 2 out of 5 risk surrounds that level 3 out of 5 risk, which is in that enhanced risk area. And then we got a slight risk down here too. This is as of right now from Nashville all the way down to Birmingham. a level 2 out of 5 risk, and a slight risk here in the south central U.S. Tornado risk today will be the highest in the northeast, with the surface low is going to enhance the kinematics, the wind, the favorable wind energy needed to put a spin in the atmosphere up here in northern PA, southern tier, Finger Lakes region of New York State. 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. All right, so this is a pretty decent shot for some tornadoes up here. Do they increase it to a 10% risk? I don't think so. I think 5% risk is a good area to have it at, but you never know. Wind threat, pretty large, 30% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour, folks. So we're definitely going to get some storms that are going to produce some damaging winds in this entire red area up here, okay? And then the hail threat. All right, there's a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. The hail threat could shift a little bit, could change, but there is a risk for large hail today also. So keep it on moving here. The excessive rainfall outlook, there's a slight risk, basically a 15% risk of rainfall, of excessive rainfall being exceeded into this region. We could get a lot of rain into this region. And then watch just north of New York City into areas of Connecticut, Mass, and just southern sections of New York State into the Poconos. We definitely have a shot of some flash flooding where I think over an inch, maybe an inch and a half of rain could fall in this region today. We'll zoom into this area a little bit later in the video, but there is that 15% risk of excessive rainfall being exceeded, so a flash flooding basically occurring. Watches, warnings, advisories. You got red flag warnings that basically are on top of excessive heat warnings, which is just a recipe for the drought really being escalated in this region, and it is. It's really becoming an issue in areas of Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma. The drought is really becoming an issue. I'm starting to see it more and more in the comments. I'm sorry, guys. I know y'all need rain. Really hoping this pattern buckles, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about that tonight. We'll get detailed on that. When's the next chance of widespread rain for you folks? Are you guys going to cool down? I will discuss that in tonight's video. Just don't have time to do it just because this video is already going to be long discussing the severe weather threat. But excessive heat warnings basically for all the deep south states all the way into Florida, and basically goes all the way down the peninsula of Florida, all the way almost down to like the Fort Myers region. So excessive heat watches in central areas of Georgia, heat advisories in the orange, just a very hot day, even into the Carolinas. I wouldn't be surprised if we extend these heat advisories into the Carolinas in the later updates, where it'll get into the mid to upper 90s with very high dew points, making the heat indices well into the 100s, which ain't nothing to what you guys have already been experiencing over here. Really hoping you guys can cool down soon. I know it's just downright miserable out there. So moving on to the southeast, we'll discuss the southeast first because, I mean, there is a chance for severe weather even in the southeast today. Kind of a tricky forecast, but we'll try to do our best we can to keep you guys ahead of what could potentially unfold. We always take a broad look at this first. We'll keep this rolling here. We're watching these showers and storms that are all up here in Missouri, southern Illinois, and Indiana right now. This will continue to drift into a very unstable atmosphere, which is in the south. It's very hot. It's very soupy out here. It's just very, very uncomfortable. So all this energy will drift down into an atmosphere that throughout the morning hours and afternoon hours will begin to become unstable, so destabilize. So this will drift into like the Bowling Green region, knock on the doorstep of like Nashville around midday, early afternoon, and we got to watch for these storms to be strong to severe. And they will continue. They'll make their way all the way to the Cumberland Plateau, the southern Alps region, northern Alabama. Some additional storms can develop in northern areas of Mississippi, and we're going to have some showers and storms in central and maybe even southwestern Florida, which I know you guys need the rain. You guys might get some rain today. So that's kind of what develops today. We'll zoom into each individual region, and we'll just watch this area today. You see these storms, they'll be blasting through the western Kentucky area. If you live in western Kentucky, you could experience some storms here in the next couple hours if you're not already doing it by the time you're experiencing it by the time you're watching the video now. These will move into kind of the northern sections of Tennessee, affect the Nashville area throughout the early afternoon. They'll be knocking on the doorstep of the Cumberland Plateau, the Valley regions. Watch out Knoxville for some strong storms later this afternoon. I know you guys were hit hard back on Monday earlier this week. Could get some more storms early to mid-afternoon. These storms continue. Chattanooga, you guys could get some storms. These might reach all the way down to like the Huntsville area, and then continue to drift into maybe the upstate of South Carolina, maybe the foothills, the North Carolina mountains. This is around 6 to 7 p.m. You got some storms here in Alabama, some storms potentially in upstate. I'm sorry, not upstate, just northern Georgia. You guys don't call it upstate Georgia. Upstate South Carolina, Piedmont, North Carolina for sure. These storms are moving in. And we'll go on and get a little bit further south here. And like I said, there's those storms right there. We do have a slight risk, even though you don't see like widespread storm development. I mean, for Huntsville down to Birmingham, and then northeastern portions of Alabama, just the heart of Alabama, you guys do have that slight risk, level 2 out of 5. So it's going to be hard to figure out kind of the storm mode out here. Maybe you have one giant line of storms that sweeps down into Alabama, but the atmosphere is prime for anything that gets going here to be strong to severe. So I would really watch out anybody in this area right here of Alabama. You see how it has the slight risk? Chattanooga, you guys got the slight risk down to Birmingham. Also, basically all of the northern half of Alabama today. I'd really take this severe weather threat serious, folks. I mean, it's not going to be a severe weather outbreak, but these could pack a little bit more punch than just your average summer storm, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So definitely be careful out there. Northern Mississippi could get some storms too. We make our way into the Georgia and the Carolinas. I think most of the day will be pretty chill. So if you got any outdoor activities, I definitely recommend hanging out around a pool or a body of water, the beach. I think most of the day will be pretty fine. I mean, I think you're going to get some big storms that rumble through eastern Kentucky later today. I mean, this is around, let's say this is around 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. I think some powerful storms could make their way into the central and eastern half of Kentucky. So if you're out and about in eastern Kentucky in the hills, definitely be prepared for some storms later today. We'll talk about West Virginia a little bit more here in a second. But these storms could, reach the higher elevations of Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and around, maybe around, say, midnight. But some model is different. Like the earlier HRRR model had a little bit more development of storms here in western areas of the Carolinas. This is the old HRRR model. So if we kind of look at the latest one here, the latest one wants to develop some storms pretty early. So this is around 6 p.m. All right, doesn't have near as much storm activity for eastern Kentucky, and has an area of storms moving through eastern Tennessee later this afternoon, early this evening, and not a whole lot making it over the mountains. So it's a tricky forecast, guys. Just understand that I would definitely, if you do have any outdoor activities today, one, it's going to be very hot, and then two, I would just have a way to look at a reliable radar on your phone, something like that. Definitely don't base it off the hourly forecast. You guys know I diss on the hourly forecast like it ain't nobody's business. I just not a big fan of it. I think people tunnel vision too much on it, and they plan everything off. I mean, and I know people don't know any better. I get it. Trust me, I understand that. But man, it just leads people astray all the time. Let's talk about the Northeast. All right, widespread look at this. Here comes our surface low that you see associated with this shortwave trough. This swings through. There could be an initial band of rain that makes its way through New York State, and then additional storms that develop back here in eastern areas of Ohio, which I think could be quite powerful. I think they could pack a punch. They quickly move into western PA, affect Pittsburgh, Erie, surrounding regions. The Youngstown region. And you got additional convection that develops in New York State. And it's very scattered and smothered out there, a Waffle House reference. It's everywhere, okay? It's going to be hard to figure out who gets hit by a storm and who doesn't. But we're going to do our best to try to figure it out for you folks. But this is the broad look at what could happen. Surface low, enhancing the flow down here, brings a belt of mid to upper level flow, and really kickstarts shear and just lift for these thunder. You're not going to have any problem firing storms in this area, that's for sure. So we'll take a closer look at the Storm Prediction Center region for this area. So I mean, Akron, Youngstown, you might as well include Akron. I think they'll extend this enhanced risk a little bit further west on maybe the next update. I really do, but I might be wrong. Buffalo, you're not quite in that enhanced region, but Youngstown, include Pittsburgh in this, State College pretty much. basically all the northern terrain of PA, Pennsylvania. Williamsport, you guys are an enhanced risk. Binghamton, this doesn't quite reach up to Syracuse, but you're probably going to have severe weather today. It doesn't quite reach all the way to Albany. But yeah, this is a closer look at everything. Tornado risk, that 5% risk of a tornado is in that brown area within 25 miles of any given location. And then the wind threat will be the big threat today, guys. This red area, 30% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher within 25 miles of any given location. So let's talk about Ohio first. Okay, I know I got a lot of people who tune in from Ohio, and I want to just try to make sure we talk about you folks. All right, so starting off this morning, not a whole lot going on. We make our way into after lunchtime, and then bang, this is around 2 to 3 p.m. Some storms begin to form in and around the Cleveland area. You see these little splotches right in here. Canton, basically Interstate 77. The storms could form right along that region. Okay, these continue. Strong to severe storms become more widespread the further east you get into Ohio. And I really think like the Warren region, Youngstown region, these kind of start to really affect you 3 to 4 p.m. These had the possibility to produce a tornado, large hail, and very, very strong winds. So please take these storms serious if you live in eastern Ohio. They'll pop off decently early in the day, 3 to 4 p.m., maybe 2 p.m., and then they'll become widespread. More convection will fire up a little bit further west in Ohio. More storms are possible in Cleveland. And just, I would say, the 77, Interstate 77 corridor is kind of like, I would say, the marking point of where these storms just on average really fire today based off the model guidance. So these continue. I'm telling you, some of these have that kidney bean look. I think we're going to have some tornado warnings in Ohio today. So please be weather aware. But we're starting to get to 5, 6 p.m. These storms are beginning to race into Pennsylvania. We could get some storm development, and we'll talk about Pennsylvania here in a second. But basically, at 2 p.m. all the way throughout the evening hours, you're going to be dealing with storms in Ohio. I think by the time you get to 11 p.m., midnight, they're done. But you look at the updraft velocity swath of this region. You see these colors in like orange and red right in here. This is really symbolizing some rotating updrafts based off this run of the HRRR model. So I really think northeastern Ohio, guys, Akron, over to Youngstown, Warren, you guys, please be aware of some tornadic storms later this afternoon. I think this is an area to really watch. I really do. We'll see. We'll look at Pennsylvania. I think this will be a very active state today. I think Pittsburgh points north up Interstate, 79 up to Erie. I think it could be very active. Those same storms develop. There's a couple things going on at one time here. One, you could have storms already firing kind of around the Scranton, Pennsylvania region. But I really think this will be the big area in Pennsylvania today. These really enter the state 3 to 5 p.m., start to blast through the Pittsburgh area, Erie area, every small town in between that region. And I think that these could move in around, like I said, 4, 5, 6 p.m., give or take an hour. Damaging winds, a tornado threat, some hail is possible with these. These keep on moving through the state. And they just work their way from west to east, and definitely ride down Interstate 80, north and south, both areas, and start to move through some of these higher elevations, higher hills of Pennsylvania, bringing all hazards threat. And it's not going to, not saying it's going to be an outbreak, but I definitely think damaging winds could blast through all of western and northern Pennsylvania. And it looks really sloppy too. Like, for example, this run, this is around 8 p.m. It shows storms just congealed everywhere. They're everywhere, right? So that's one thing to note. And these will begin to really just take over the entire state throughout the evening. You could have more storms firing back here, some strong to severe storms in northern West Virginia as possible, right? What is that? Morgantown. You guys could definitely get some strong to severe storms today. And, we'll make it all the way to the Poconos region. Affect them. You guys there could be areas that get multiple rounds of storms for sure in Pennsylvania today. But if you took anything from what I just said, just know that I would say around 4 to 5 p.m. it starts to go downhill in extreme western PA. And basically throughout the next several hours after that, you're going to be dealing with storms. Okay, so I would say the 4 p.m. time frame onward from west to east throughout Pennsylvania will be the time frame where storms will sweep through this region. Now you look at the winds from this, nothing alarming really, and this is just predicted wind gusts from the HRRR model, but it does show these 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts coming in around 4 to 5 p.m. in the western PA from these storms. They could blast through the Pittsburgh area, right around that dinner time region, and continue to work their way through Pennsylvania throughout the evening hour. But nothing alarming coming up, just some 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. But just know that you cannot just go off this guidance from models, okay? What you have to look at is the fact that we are going to have definitely a slingshot of favorable winds aloft, meaning above our heads, that moves through this area that certainly supports damaging winds. So you can't just look at models and say, well, just because this model is showing it, it's not going to happen. No, we can't do that. That's not a responsible way to look at this. But the updraft Felicity swath, it really likes a couple of supercells forming here, like that one around Scranton. We cannot rule out a tornado in this region right here in the Poconos and northeast and southern sections of New Jersey. But it really likes this area, just right in here that I just talked about in Ohio. And man, even extreme western PA, you got to watch out. And this entire region right here has a tornado threat, even though the updraft Felicity swath on this one particular run does not show much in northern PA. Please don't ignore it. So, New York State, and this is the last zoomed in region we'll talk about. So we'll look at kind of what's going on right now. Hopefully we don't have any. Here's that kind of trailing line of storms that I think will continue to develop in this region. This will kind of be our morning convection that sweeps through the states. We'll see if this actually like strengthens or anything like that. But this will continue. This model shows that, hey, you're going to have a line of storms that moves through about late morning in the Finger Lakes region, makes its way towards the Adirondacks. This could bring some strong to severe weather. Okay. This could also dampen the atmosphere. We have to see what happens. But I think that a round of heavy rain, maybe storms, could move its way through the Adirondacks of northern areas of New York State, make its way all the way into Vermont. But it's the storms initially right behind this, where the atmosphere begins to recover. The Finger Lakes region, just because you don't see any storms right here in southwest and western areas of New York State, that doesn't mean there's not going to be any. But it's really just all these storms right into here. Look at this storm right outside of Binghamton moving through the area. These will have a chance to produce a tornado. The kinematics will be favorable. So I know this is, look at this. This is really everywhere, right? Okay, you got storms everywhere. So just know, if you're in the risk area, I'm telling you, download a radar on your phone, even if it's one of the kind of the low quality ones. Definitely download one that doesn't show you. I'm not talking about the future cast, guys. I'm talking about one that's actually showing what's falling right at this moment. That's important. It's going to help you, especially if you're interested in weather. It's a great learning tool. I'm big on Radar Scope. I don't know anything about Radar Omega, but I don't have anything against it. I've heard people rip and rave about it. It's awesome. So that one, Radar Scope, I have Radar Scope, and it's taught me a lot. But you're just going to have widespread, scattered, strong to severe storms across the southern tier of New York State, especially into central New York State. And then eventually, these storms could make their way into southern Vermont, could still be strong into this area of northern, southern sections of New York State, making its way all the way into western Connecticut. And then, you keep this going, and you still got strong to severe storms moving into New York State. In fact, we'd actually have to look at the long-range HRRR model, which is different, and it really likes, come on, baby, you got to work for it. Okay, here we go. But here we go. It shows an area of storms that could potentially work its way into the southern New England area around midnight tonight also, so don't want to just neglect you folks. But I know that's everywhere, guys. It's a tough one. Winds with this, I definitely think you're going to get an area of strong to severe storms that potentially produce some damaging winds that slash through the southern tier of New York State. Obviously, we talked about Pennsylvania. We could get some initial early to mid-afternoon storms that could fire in northern areas of New Jersey, just north of New York City. I'd watch for some early storms that kind of get going ahead of this main organized area of storms behind it. It's very possible. The updraft Felicity swath, it's not alarming in New York State. It really wants to pick up on these earlier storms. But just like I said, this is just model guidance. Just be aware of what could happen today. But in general, just expect, I would say the models are the most confident about storms really being strong to severe in eastern areas of Ohio. I'd really watch out for that region. I really would. Rainfall, it has that slight risk down here where an inch and a quarter, inch and a half of rain is possible just north of New York City, western Connecticut, and just basically north of that New York City region. A lot of rain could fall. There's a weird cutoff right in here, but this could very well be connected. Sometimes two national weather services don't agree with rain. That's why it's kind of everywhere. But just in general, just know that a good appreciable amount of rain could fall basically in all these areas of the Northeast for sure. You talk about the kinematics. Basically what you're about to see on your screen is the ingredients, and this is that belt right here of favorable winds aloft that's going to support lift in the atmosphere and shear to create this damaging wind threat. And you stop it here, it's about middle of the afternoon. You got a mid-level jet basically pumping at 50 to 60 knots right over Pennsylvania, over southern tier regions of New York State. So these are winds, several thousand feet up in the air. And I know you're thinking, well, we're not up in the air, but these winds aloft are kind of not always a deciding factor, but it basically is the mechanism to provide lift for these storms and really provide the wind energy even further to the surface for damaging winds with these storms. And you got this exit region of this jet that swings through this region associated with a surface low up here. So that's why you have that 30% risk of damaging winds right into this area, right where the corridor of storms are really just lifting into this region. If you notice in the Northeast, you're really waking up to just a kind of a crisp morning. There's not a whole lot going on. It feels pretty nice out there, but waking up to drier air. But what you're going to notice here as you move into the later morning hours, into the afternoon hours, the atmosphere is totally going to change. You're going to go from, it doesn't feel really humid outside to it's very humid outside. And that is just your typical moisture increase from a system moving in. And basically this surface low is going to help yank in all this low-level moisture into the Northeast today, and that'll be an ingredient for severe weather into this region today. So please stay safe in the Northeast. I hope that helped you guys. Let's talk about the South Central U.S. A piece of energy will fly off this ridge, and I think we're going to have an area of strong to severe storms that really gets going here in southeast Colorado. Let me adjust my maps here. And then moves into areas of the panhandle of Oklahoma. I think you need to really watch in southwest sections of Kansas, and then they swing through and really ride that ridge. So this will be the area to watch today, and unfortunately Louisiana, most of Texas, stays dry. But let's zoom into this threat area today. I think these storms will fire right into here. If you live in the Springfield, Colorado area, Boise City, Oklahoma, I'd even watch down to Amarillo, but I would think the worst would be to your north. But this line of storms really develops, packs a punch. If you're any kind of small town or community in southeast Colorado, southwest Kansas, please be aware of these storms today for sure. But these storms continue to chug northeast at first. I think we could get some strong to severe storms in western Oklahoma too. They start to affect the Garden City area, Dodge City, later this evening, I would say, 9, 10, 11 p.m. And these basically blasted area. At this point, it's about 11 p.m. You got storms basically taking over the southern portion of Kansas, northern areas of Oklahoma. You got a nasty area of storms right here in northern Oklahoma, basically riding over Interstate 35. Wichita could be being affected by at this point. And these basically just ride throughout the night, throughout southern areas of Kansas, northern areas of Oklahoma, and then they start to move into areas of Missouri. You can wake up to a lot of widespread shower and storm activity in Kansas City, western Missouri tomorrow. We'll zoom into that region here in a second, but definitely be aware of these storms. Really could, you would think that the biggest damaging wind threat today is these storms in Oklahoma and Kansas. In fact, you back it up here. You know, this is 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and just, I'm not going to name every single hour, but I mean, look at this. This is basically starting this evening all the way throughout the overnight hours. I mean, this shows some significant winds through Garden City. Make sure I get my names right here. Sorry, just running out of gas like I always do in the latter half of these videos. Garden City, Oklahoma, Dodge City, Liberal, Woodward, all the way up to Interstate 35, Wichita. I mean, it shows some damaging winds. 40, 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds with some of these storms. So I'd watch out. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an increase from the Storm Prediction Center in this area today. So damaging winds is definitely a problem in this area of Oklahoma and Kansas today. We'll go up here to Missouri, Illinois, and, you know, I would watch out, continue to, you know, be aware of some strong to severe storms that could get going again here. I would say in southeast areas of Missouri, could drift to extreme southern Illinois around 4 to 5 p.m., affect the Evansville. These storms could really pack a punch along the border of Indiana and Kentucky today, this evening. Please be aware from strong to severe storms. You do have a marginal risk into this region, and they will drift into Kentucky, deeper into Kentucky. But then later on tonight, we will watch a more organized, just clustered up area of showers and storms that really takes over the state of Missouri tomorrow morning. These could produce some flash flooding. These could produce some strong to severe storms that you're waking up to, and we're firmly getting into tomorrow morning at this point. So definitely expect a rainy start to your Sunday morning for areas of Missouri tomorrow for sure. The north central U.S., I think we could get just some flow out the northwest. So we could get some pop-up showers that kind of drift through the northern country of Minnesota into northern Wisconsin, could drift into the UP of Michigan. Everybody in between, you know, Iowa, I don't think it's going to be very active today until we get into later tonight. And then we could get some storms that fire up in the northern plains out here. And let's just go on and zoom into this region. Northern plains, an area of just widespread light to moderate rain, kind of takes over northeast areas of Montana, takes over the western areas of North Dakota. But then as we get into South Dakota, we could certainly get a powerful supercell or two somewhere in South Dakota. I would say southern, southwestern areas of South Dakota. I'm telling you, be careful. There's a marginal risk in this region. You know, I would say it's probably going to develop east of Rapid City. Could develop around Interstate 90. But there's just going to be one or two supercells in this region right here that's going to get going. Large hail, damaging winds, maybe even a tornado. Please be careful with this little cluster of storms. And then this could really develop upstream, begin to give folks like northern and northeast Nebraska, eastern areas of South Dakota, a lot of rain as we're waking up tomorrow morning and as this is taking over areas of Missouri. But I think tomorrow morning we're waking up to a lot of widespread rain in the Dakotas. So if you need the rain, you're certainly going to get it potentially in this region. Really just between now and the next 24 hours as far as that rainfall. It looks like we're going to have to update this. Really, I mean, not showing a whole lot of rain, but definitely some appreciable rainfall totals out here in the Dakotas for sure. The western U.S. competing flows in the southwest here as these storms flow, and then some move to the west, some move to the east, but I'll stop it here. Prime heating of the day, 3-4 p.m. Showers and storms over Arizona, northern Arizona, especially southern Utah, and kind of east central sections of Nevada. Pretty much everybody has a chance in Colorado today. Kind of the same in New Mexico. Definitely just going to get a lot of shower activity. These could drift all the way into areas of California too. And yeah, just pretty moist flow out here. Just competing flows over the four corner states. So temperatures, very hot in the Carolinas today. Very hot across the southern states. 100-degree temperatures, upper 90s. Could be a belt right here in the Ohio Valley of low 90s, 70s, low 80s into the northeast, higher elevations up into only in the 60s, Midwest 80s, cooler conditions, just 70s and 80s in the northern plains. You work your way a little bit closer to the high plains, the temperatures will actually be higher, 80s and 90s, and then everybody in the western U.S. Just nothing totally unusual for this time of year. That's all I got, guys. Stay tuned for tonight. We'll have you a video talking about what's to come. Stay safe out there. God bless all y'all, and have a great day.